what do I do if I like studying the more advanced stuff, but the lower fundamental stuff really bores me? Yo, what's up everyone? Professor X with a Z here. As always, make sure you drop a follow or a like. If you want to see more content about how to, get better at mathematics, or how I personally got better at mathematics, then, check out my page. I'm going to give you some really bad advice that's actually really good advice if you listen the entire way through. Skip the fundamental stuff. Now, whoa, what is Professor X with a Z saying? No, I'm not, literally saying it, but like the specific example was they liked, integral and differential calculus, but studying limits was like kind of a bore. And definitely I say, like, in that case, definitely skip the limits, because that's essentially kind of what I did for the most part. Like, I studied limits, but I wasn't sitting there trying to master them. And that's kind of one of the biggest fundamental pedagogical flaws that I see in like US math, is a lot of times they teach you on a very strict schedule, right? There are very few holes if you really master every step, but the issue is people tend to lose interest before they can get to the topics that are really interesting. I'll give you a very real world example. I'm currently studying for a test called the qualification exam for my PhD. So basically, I need to pass that test in order to proceed to candidacy, which that's when I start doing my research. The issue is certain topics, like you need to choose 3 topics, specifically 2 major, 1 minor. So I chose algebraic geometry and Lie theory as my 2 major topics. Then my 3rd minor topic is algebraic topology, right? I don't necessarily dislike algebraic topology. The issue is the book that I'm using, the reference that I'm using, it's kind of, dry. There's a lot of technical detail, and I'm also getting lost in the fundamental, like I've already learned it before, but I'm just reviewing it. But like as of last week, I was getting kind of like lost in the details, and I was like, really, this is really boring, and it's really hard for me to get to the actual interesting stuff, or the stuff that I need to know. So I came to the bright idea: just study the things that you need to know. What's going to happen is you may not understand everything fully, and where do those gaps come in? Those gaps usually come in from the material that you skipped, but no need to fear, because sometimes that material wasn't really as useful to begin with. Sometimes you can understand the bigger picture very, very well without understanding the nitty gritty. So that's what I'm going to start doing in this next week. I'm going to start reviewing cohomology and things like that. So what happened was I was trying to, fully master homology, but these 2 subjects are like kind of not really they don't really overlap too much. Like they do. Like they really do, let me not misspeak, but it's just like, I could still get the bigger picture of cohomology without, going so deep into barycentric subdivisions and things like that. For those who know, I'm talking about Algebraic Topology by Alan Hatcher. I said all that to say, math is very different in the world, like how you use it in the real world, than how it's presented in school. Because in the real world, we usually don't follow a specific path, like we learn based off of inquiry. But the issue is that can lead to a lot of holes being developed. So I would say, like the optimal way to go about doing this is, like going a little bit ahead to get motivation for studying the fundamentals. And, once you get so far where you can't really fully understand everything, then that's when you go back and backfill those details. That's exactly what I'm doing. But again, the difference is I am reviewing these subjects. I'm not quite just learning them, but still, it just really depends on what you're learning it for. If you're learning it for personal use, then by all means, you don't have to follow a specific chain. Just know that you may end up developing holes and gaps in your education. But again, that's fine if it's recreational. But if you're trying to apply it or trying to make it into a discipline, that's not okay. And definitely, supplement your learning with actual tried and true resources like textbooks or courses, online courses, or things like that. If you like this style of content, please, as always, drop that like, drop that follow, and, I'll catch y'all next time. Professor X with a Z out.